Hey, listener. Before we start the show, I want to give another donor shout out to friend of the pod, Stephen Bentley. Stephen's the director of Parks and Rec for the city of Raleigh and gave us money to help support our scholarship fund. If you're interested in supporting our scholarship fund, go to recklesspod.com/store for more info. Now, here's Jay to introduce another show partner of ours, Rec Technologies.
Hey listener, this episode of RecLess is brought to you by Rec Technologies, the recreation management system built for Parks and Rec in an AI-powered world. Rec Technology knows what it's like, clunky systems, endless workarounds, and software that fights you at every step. Parks and Rec is about serving your community, but somehow the technology you've been handed feels stuck in the past and makes everything feel harder. Rec believes your recreation software shouldn't feel like a second job. Built by leaders from Uber and Google, Rec combines modern technology with powerful AI to make registration and discovery simpler for residents and day-to-day work easier for your staff. That means fewer headaches on registration day, less time wrestling with spreadsheets, and more time for the work that matters. It's recreation management that makes life more fun and powers more play across your community. So, don't miss Rec at the NRPA conference on Wednesday afternoon. Rec Technology joins OpenAI and the Glenview, Illinois Park District to explore practical, real-world ways Parks and Rec teams can use ChatGPT. They'd also love to meet you at the RecLess Social Tuesday. Learn more at recreation.ai.
Welcome to Season 6 of RecLess, the podcast making you smarter about the field of parks and recreation. Your hosts are Shane Mize, Jay Tryon, and Tom Venniro, three professional friends, if you know, from around the country, bringing you a surprise guest each episode. This project has made an impact, educates others, and continues to support a growing community. Thank you for being part of it. This is RecLess.
That's a cute photo of me and you.
I know. I said the same thing.
Where'd they find that?
Where would you find that? Let's make you the host.
Let's just start without Jay.
He's joining right now.
If you haven't watched any World Cup, I know Jay hadn't watched a drop of it.
No, only highlights. I've seen all the highlights, but
All the goals, yeah.
nothing live. Ivory Coast is gone, so Jay has nothing to really watch for anymore.
Is that the closest we could get him to Djibouti?
Is that what that team was? Was it the Ivory Coast?
They did lose.
That's the one that tied or drawed Spain.
No, you're talking about they're playing right now. They're playing Argentina. You're talking about Cape Verde?
Yes. Okay, they haven't played yet. Got it.
What's up, guys?
Hey, Jay.
Yo, what's up?
I had to switch over. I'm not used to being at home.
Yeah, you're even in a different room. I think when you are at home, I don't recognize that background.
Yeah, I'm upstairs in our bedroom.
Okay. You guys ready to get going?
Do it.
Okay. Welcome to RecLess, everyone. We are now in Season 6, Episode 112 in full, and 13 of this season. And I am here as your host today, Tom Venniro, with our trusted partners in crime. I'm going to give you different names every time. So today you're my trusted partner in crime, Jay Tryon and Shane Mize. How's it going, guys? We're in World Cup season, so I know Shane's in a good spot, at the very least.
Been fun. This is the one to watch. I'm sad that y'all haven't seen a lot of it. It's been a really good World Cup.
Maybe I'm secretly watching everything, but just don't want to tell you I am.
Do you know that the Team USA result and score yesterday, Jay?
I know they won. I saw it on SportsCenter.
Okay.
Couldn't tell you who scored, but I know they won.
Man, that free kick yesterday that Tillman took was incredible. The science even behind it is incredible.
Well, it was 1-0 up until the was it the 80th or so?
Yeah, I think we were at the 83rd minute, something like that.
Yeah. So a little dicey.
But down a man
goal.
With that second goal, amazing. And I don't know if y'all saw him in his interviews. Like, he had to change a shoe out right before he took that kick. So it's the first time he'd had that shoe on. And he was standing there afterwards, and they were asking him, and they're filming him like we're filming, right, from the top up. They're asking him, we saw that you had to run across and change your shoe real quick. What happened? And he just looked down. His whole sock was bloody. So just before that play, what had caused that penalty, someone had stepped on his foot, and he was bleeding. Like, you could see the bloody sock, the putt in the sock So for him to, obviously had a foot that has some sort of blood in it, a little bit of a gash, some pain, and be able to do what he did with it, incredible.
Yeah, you would say that a soccer player's shoe or cleat is the equivalent of like a golf club for a golfer. It's pretty
Like the only
important.
equipment they have. Yeah, for sure. Almost all of it.
It's pretty important to have a good feel for that. Well, yeah, you know what? Like, we're gonna shift gears. We could probably talk a little more World Cup at some point in
I
the
bet we've
episode
talked about all we
today.
could.
But we're gonna go from football to football.
Okay.
All right. So at the time of this recording, the World Cup was live, actually, as everybody could tell by listening. And by the time that this comes out, football, what do we call it? Training camp
Mm.
will be either just starting or have already started when this comes out. So we're going from football to football pretty quickly here in the summer. It's nice to have the World Cup in the US, but as Jay and I think would agree,
Screw
the
soccer.
the one and only football is starting soon.
Okay.
And so my opening question, as we look toward NFL training camps and we get over and get past the Patriots loss in the Super Bowl
And I passed
and
it.
Seattle celebrates, and they scheduled the opening game to be a rematch, right? Patriots Seahawks, and the Patriots are gonna have to watch them raise that damn banner. Why do they do that? Why you gotta rub salt in the wounds
I do it all the time. It happens like maybe not every year, but it happens very
many
often.
of the years? Okay. Well, either way, you know how this goes. This training camp piece, every team, Jay, you know how this goes more than anybody. No, not to be rubbing
That's a
salt in your
little
weed,
salty.
but every team has a chance to win the Super Bowl right now, right? And that may not be 100% true, but you know the mindset. The offseason happened. We had a draft, traded, signed players, whatever it may be, new coaching staff, and they're ready to go. Fresh outlook, some new jerseys, or as Shane would call them, kits. Some new kits are out. We've all probably been there, either playing sports before or just entering a new season in Parks and Recreation when you're, transitioning from spring to summer. It's this new season. We're excited. We're getting somewhere else, and you got a good outlook. I want to ask you a question that kind of parallels football and Parks and Recreation. If the both of you, were to build the perfect Parks and Recreation team or department like they try to build every offseason in the NFL, what is the position, or maybe it's more a quality that you would build that around? The first quality that you would build it around. So some examples, maybe it's talent, it's culture, it's leadership, it's work ethic, communication. And I think of that in parallel to football. Maybe you're building around a coach, maybe you're building around a quarterback or an offensive scheme, or maybe you're a defensive scheme, or whatever that may be. So what is that one intangible, if you're starting from scratch today, that you're going to start with? That's what you're going to build the entire organization around. I'll go first to give you some time. And I want to say maybe this is a little off the board, but it's related to some of them. And for me, it's mindset. So I thought about it as culture. And I think cultures probably would be a very common answer for a lot of individuals if we asked, because we all talk about how it starts with culture and that goes from top to bottom, and it really impacts how the entire cog in the machine, or every cog in the machine, works toward that common goal. But for me, I'm going to go mindset. How do we visualize ourselves? Now, we all know that that's not going to happen 100%, because that's just the nature of life, let alone Parks and Recreation. There's something that comes up every day that probably rattles each other's cages and throws you off into a different direction. But I still believe in the visualization of success, seeing the wins, experiencing the wins, and understanding there will be failure, but not emphasizing or focusing on those failures, focusing on the wins. And I believe that mindset is contagious. Individuals feel success. They see someone with confidence and they breed that confidence themselves. Not everybody agrees with Bill Belichick. Not everybody probably agrees with Tom Brady. I do appreciate those 6 Super Bowls. I do appreciate the domination of the Buffalo Bills and the AFC East, but that's not what I appreciate the most. I look at it from a lot of what you saw from that group is, the mindset of first one in, last one out. Now, I know that that's not always healthy for people, but it is certainly something that people can rally around. When they see their coach or their quarterback or whoever it is who has the work ethic, they are always working at it, working hard. The other part of that mindset that goes into it is kind of, and again, paralleling to the Patriots, they had a phrase, do your job. Everybody was there to do a job, and it was on them. There was accountability, but at the same time, when things did not work, it was a team effort. Nobody threw anybody under the bus. So not throwing people under the bus, work as a team, spreading the work around, spreading the ball around, so to speak, getting the whole team involved, keeping everything that you have tight, keeping it in the family. If you remember those Patriots teams, they didn't go out in a press conference or, they didn't talk bad about each other and that kind of thing. You still don't hear about it. Every one of those Patriots talks about, what do they call it? The Patriot way. There's rarely anybody that speaks poorly of that, because that mindset that they had ultimately came down to a quote that, if you remember, Bill Belichick was famous for saying a bunch of stuff, but they lost the game in one of the seasons that they started off poorly. It was against, I don't actually remember, maybe Kansas City. I'm not sure who it was against, but the next game I remember, because Bill Belichick said about 20 times in response to every question, we're on to Cincinnati. You guys probably remember that. We're on to Cincinnati. And that goes back to something we've talked to before, that Coach K mentality. And I love that mindset. It's not about what happened before. It's about the next play. It's how you self-correct yourself and how you see yourself succeeding after that failure. So for me, it's that mindset. That's how I would start building that, is looking at a success culture to bring and indoctrinate everybody in, to bring that confidence.
You want to go, Jay? You want me to?
Go for it.
It's a terribly interesting question for me in my career, because I got the opportunity to coach in college, small school. It wasn't like I was at Alabama, and maybe things were different at the places I was at than, some of these higher end places. But I've never won a gold medal. Like, I've been a part of a team that was a gold medal finalist, but I've never won a gold medal. So maybe I'm the problem.
But does that define success? Is that the only thing?
No. I think from the outside, people do look at it as a factor that you can say, if they're Capra, if they're gold medal, if they're academy, whatever, they're, that they're doing something right. I think what I found interesting about coaching, and what I enjoyed about coaching, there are things I didn't enjoy about coaching. There are things I wasn't very good at with coaching, but like, I enjoyed self-scouting. I enjoyed the process of figuring out what our weaknesses were, trying to figure out the weaknesses of the other team, trying to game plan around that. And I think where I took that maybe into my success that I've had in Parks and Rec is that I have always tried to do things wildly differently than everybody else. And I did that in coaching. I've done that in Parks and Rec. And like, I'm not trying to, when I got to Hutto first and now Pflugerville, for those that don't understand the geographics, they both border Round Rock and Austin. So a gold medal accredited agency, and when you talk about top 10 park districts, park systems in the country, normally with Austin, Portland, Seattle, Boston, etc., one of those types that they mention. And I felt like, how am I going to make a mark? I can't compete with them. I had to be totally different than them. What I did in coaching and what I do now, and what I strive to, hopefully if my staff's listening, they would agree if they heard this, is that we're 100% focused on intention, and we're not focused at all on outcomes. And at the end of that, if I put in the week I wanted to put in coaching, and we scouted what we could scout, and we even called the right plays, but for some reason they still beat us, they were just a better team, I was okay. I was okay being fully committed to the game plan and 100% unattached to the result. And I've tried to get my team to do that as well here. Like, I want this rec center to be successful. I couldn't explain to you in the time that we have how much we've done to be successful, but we've done everything that you would expect of an agency to do, right? Whether it was the feasibility study with an accredited group, and then it was building an architectural facility with a well-known architectural firm, engaging the public like we have, bringing on Jamie for sustainability stuff, bringing on Neelay for culture stuff. I mean, we're doing everything we can do, right? 100% fully committed to the process. and detached to the fact that if this fails or not, we did everything we could do. And I was okay with losses. They did kind of beat me up, and unfortunately I dwelled on the losses way more than I enjoyed any wins. Even though I wasn't the head coach, you just feel a part of that. And I would say I'm still like that even to this day. Like, I have a bad presentation at council or something goes wrong somewhere, and I can dwell on that when I could look up and see all the things I've had success in, and that doesn't bring me near the joy. And that's ultimately one of the plenty of reasons that coaching did not appeal to me, because I just couldn't live like that, where like a couple losses, you could go 10-2 and the 10 wins were great. The 2 losses just killed me, like almost put me in a different spot. But in the process of that loss, if I felt like I'd done everything going into that game and we just got out coached, or they were just a better team, they had better athletes, they executed a way that we didn't, I was okay with that. I could live with that. And I've really tried to get my staff, I've tried to build off wonder. When I think of intention, I do think of wonder. We're not just out there winging it in so many ways. We're talking through what we think we're going to do and what we think the pitfalls are, and trying to get discernment in there and trying to get invention and everything else in there, making sure we go through the process before we initiate and iterate. But yeah, I think intentionality is important to me. And in some way, we're very intentional about wonder. We do a lot of wonder meetings, obviously, with someone like me. I want us to be creative. I want us to be unique and different. If we're doing those things, I'm just 100% fine with whatever happens. Whatever that is, I'm okay with it.
I agree with that. I think that's really good insight. And I don't think everything has to work out perfectly to be successful, but you could still visualize yourself carrying out a process. Like you said, if you carry it out the way that you intended to do it, then
and to
you
that
did
point,
all you asked.
What y'all understand, and what any Parks and Rec professional listening hopefully understands, is that like you could do a really poor job. Maybe not you. You don't want to be the person that does this, but someone could do a really poor job. Another agency, a team could do a really poor job of planning an event, and it can go viral, and it can look like they were geniuses. And you could do a really good job planning an event, doing everything you're supposed to do. And you could have bad weather, or a food truck vendor, or the MC doesn't show up, or the entertainment's late. A couple years ago at one of our main events, we had, I can't think of their name right now. It's like a Smashing Pumpkins type band. It's one of these bands that was popular years ago, and they're 2 songs into their set, and the generator blows. The speaker system blows. It took us 45 minutes to get another one over. Like, now we've learned that we just always have a second one, even backing up the backup. But like, I was fine with that in the moment, because we'd done everything we were supposed to do in the time leading up to that. And so it's one of those things where I don't think the outcome, although cities focus on it and social media sometimes focuses on it, and the 2020 mindset that we have in the rearview mirror totally focuses on the outcome. I try to get my staff to live in the intention, and being okay if we're fine with our intention and our planning and our process, being 100% detached to ultimately what the outcome is, hoping it goes well, but not living and dying with it if it doesn't.
How about you, Jay?
So when you started talking about this, the first thing I thought of was culture, obviously, and you mentioned it several times. But what I want to talk about is not, because culture means like so many different things. There's so many layers within culture. And actually, like, that's one of the classes I do at SMS is all about culture. And it's like my favorite thing to talk about or lead on. But I want to talk about like some smaller attributes of culture. And one of those things is really like establishing a connection to the purpose, but then also establishing a connection with your staff. Because, and everyone's probably seen the famous like quote or like belief that, people don't leave jobs for salary or for promotions. They leave because of a bad culture or because of a bad leader.
Yeah.
On the flip side of that, you don't automatically like respect who your director is or your assistant director is or your supervisor is. You respect them for who they are and how they lead. But like the title doesn't give them automatic like respect. So it's really, to me, if I'm going to like build a department from scratch, or if we're going to like talk about that, like the foundational thing is really like establishing that connection to what the purpose is of what you're doing, but then establishing the connection with each other. And then the other layer of that I would add into this is accountability. Because I think accountability is probably like one of the hardest things to probably ensure is there for new supervisors, but it's also like the root of so many challenges and problems. Because if you can't hold staff accountable, then the end results are not going to be the way that you want them to be or the way they should be. And in some cases, like it might be three people down the layer that is just like they have a hard time with their supervisors holding them accountable or whatever it may be. But having that connection, having the understanding of the purpose, kind of like all to me like ties that together. But then also showing how it's relatable to the individual and to the big picture. We talk on here about know your why, know your purpose.
Yeah.
And then we've probably have told this story or at least like kind of given this example before, but making sure like the park operations team understands like their job and what their job is not just to mow the grass and make the park look pretty. It's going to be for that kid to play soccer for the first time, kick their first goal, and those parents like from pure joy, like see that enjoyment on that child's face and know that that's done because of park operations and all the things that go into that. So being able to identify that goal, identify the purpose, hold them accountable for that. So they see that and tell those stories. The storytelling like all comes back to this too, and we're seeing it now. It's, July's Park and Rec Month. And like part of how we're making sure people understand the power of parks is storytelling. But if you don't have that connection to the purpose and to the people and hold them accountable, storytelling will never happen and is really irrelevant to all of that. So I know that's kind of like multiple things all in one, but ultimately it's a piece of the culture that's really important. And I think it's just that modeling that behavior, making it personal, and that connection to both the purpose and the people that, with that, like you're going to win the hearts of the people that you work with and win the hearts of your communities.
I'll say to Jay's point, one of the things I've missed about coaching, it just doesn't transfer over, and I wish it did, was film review. When you talk about accountability, Jay, like there was nothing like saying, okay, here was your step. Here was your first step when the ball was snapped. It wasn't a very good first step. And people being able to see, oh, that led to me being over my cleats. And that's why that guy got around me. And we actually had a good play called and we had blocked it everywhere else. And we had the receivers going where we wanted them to go. And if you could have held out, if you could have stepped that first step, right? Not been over your cleats, you could have just held out a little longer. We complete that pass. We get that first down. We're still moving. And so what I loved about film review, especially for me when I was playing, was seeing it. And there's almost nothing you can do. Like I try to do post-ops for all of our events. I try to, when I first got here, I didn't think I was a very good presenter. Still don't, but I was worse. And so I would send any video that I did to council. I would send it to my management team, not just the leadership team, management team. And I'd ask them to all watch it. And then we'd come into my office and I would have to sit there and we would watch it and people gave me feedback. That wasn't easy. It wasn't easy for them to give me feedback. It wasn't easy for me, but I felt responsible because I'm sometimes talking on behalf of camp and how important camp is. And I wanted to hear Timmy say, you know what, I wish you would have highlighted more blank. And I'd be like, oh, fuck, that was a great point. I should have highlighted that better, and so I got better. But it's really tough to have that film review concept. But to Jay's point, accountability, man, it'd be great to show a rec programmer to show their 40 hours before the event and be like, this is, see this spot right there, that decision you made there, that really did affect this event in this way. You know what I mean? Like, man, that would be really great.
Well, in some ways, like I do it with our park staff of like, I'm doing site visits all the time and with different staff. And like in our department, we have different committees and like we have a greenway committee that like walks our greenways regularly, but it's not just the staff that are responsible to actually maintain the greenways. It's other people because their eyes on it are going to be different and they're going to see different things. So then like sometimes we might be taking pictures of like, hey, like these are the things that we noticed. And then like we take that same walk a month later. If those same pictures were taken and things weren't fixed, like that's accountability.
Yeah.
Sure.
So it's just, there's ways to do it. Obviously, like programming events, it's not as simple as taking a picture, but there are definitely review opportunities that it's similar to film review.
Well, that's a fun question. We took a lot of time up. To sum it up, if the RecLess team was building their own team from scratch, it sounds like some of the key themes would be a positivity mindset, a success-driven mindset, intentional process, accountability, and connection. And I don't know if you could have, much
Pretty good.
better of a, that's a pretty good 4. So, all right, good stuff. And you know what? Our guests, I think, can relate a lot to some of the conversations we had there. And I'm excited to bring our guests on and introduce them. Our guest, Community Creative, is the name today. And there is an adorable photo, as Shane mentioned, of Shane and I when we were, I think Shane was 10 and I was 4 at this point. Really
I thought
cute
it was
photo.
reversed. I'm still shorter. That's the problem.
Right. The taller one. Really cute photo of some adorable children. And those children are indeed not Shane and Tom. That is Miles and Atlas.
Oh,
So,
great names.
yes. So our guest, I'm very excited to get into this. Their Myers-Briggs personality type is ENFJ. Their love story includes 4 years of long-distance dating before their spouse moved home. They now have 2 toddler boys, Miles and Atlas, and live in the community they serve. Part of that story, interestingly enough, is that the spouse was living in Texas before moving to where they are currently residing.
They left God's country. That's what you're saying.
Yes. Their word of the year is nourishment. They entered Parks and Recreation as a 15-year-old lifeguard, spent more than 15 years in aquatics, and have now spent the past 2 years leading a much broader recreation operation. They earned a master's degree, and I love this one. This is very unique. A master's degree in creative and change leadership. Not one that you hear of every day, but seems very applicable to what we just talked about and to our field. I first met this guest after I presented at a state conference when we exchanged business cards after the session. I've always loved that. I've met some of the most amazing people from that when they presented, and I love that I got a chance to meet someone like that after a presentation that I was fortunate enough to provide. They're their current state's reigning Good Gal Award recipient. They're also co-chairing their state's upcoming 2026 annual conference. They proudly call themselves, proudly a Buffalonian and an even prouder Buffalo Bills fan. Sorry for the Patriots dig earlier. I couldn't resist.
You're not sorry.
I'm not.
He's not.
Listen, the tide have turned a little bit, right? Except for last year. So anyway, they also recently became a podcast host. So we have another podcast host with us.
Commiseraries.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
They can teach us how to do it.
Yeah.
And now as we get closer to unveiling our guests, this fall, they are attending their first NRPA conference, something that's very special to all of us, as a 2026 AAPRA, American Academy, extern and recipient.
Did they email us recently?
Ernest T. Atwell Diversity Scholarship. This individual's last clue that I have for you did email you recently. And I quote in the email after the intro said, "This is actually more for Hannah."
That's right.
So our guest is one of the founding members of the unofficial Hannah Mize fan club. Please welcome Naomi Sosnowski, program supervisor for the town of Amherst, Jay's hometown.
It is.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah,
perfect.
We can hear you great, crystal clear. Not every day we get a lot of connections like this with the 3 hosts and our guests. So exciting. I'm sure that there's a lot of questions on all of that. Our intro was painstakingly long. So because of that, we're going to dive right into all of this. I don't think, guys, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. We've had a lot of obviously, we're former externs. We've had a lot of former externs, even recent former externs, but I don't think we've ever had an extern who has just been awarded prior to the NRP experience, which is a little unique to Naomi, which is kind of cool. So, Naomi, you are, as we mentioned, one of the recipients this year. I had a chance to be a part of the externship committee, so we went through the pairings and we talked about it. And Naomi, I hope you don't mind me saying this, but out of the typical externs, Naomi's on the cusp of the edge of the young professional guideline, I would say. Okay, and I don't mean to put you on blast there, but I think we typically see is the, you know, who knows, a 25, 26, 27 year older. So this is a different experience. And when we went through the pairings of that, that was a consideration, because you guys know you're going to have buddies who would potentially be less experienced or great people, obviously great externs, but less experienced or potentially
Boy, you're
a lot
really
younger.
selling this, by the
Yeah,
way.
yeah, yeah. Well,
I
I'm
didn't
gonna
realize
sell.
my wrinkles were showing, but that's okay.
All I'm saying is that Naomi has an amazing pairing, an amazing triad, as they call it. Her mentor is Michael and Lord,
Mhm.
and Buddy is our very, very good friend Sarah Sanquist.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
So
that's awesome.
really cool stuff. So what I just want to start off is someone who's not been through the experience but is excited for it and just was awarded. Tell us about what prompted you to apply. I know that we've talked about it, but I knew you've heard about it before that as well. And now that it's a reality, what are you hoping to gain from that experience, not just professionally, but personally as well, and moving forward?
First off, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here, and I'm just thrilled for this conversation and this opportunity and to represent a different group of people on your podcast. So thank you for having me. In my clues leading into this, you heard my word of the year was nourishment. I have two toddler boys. They are my world and my life, and they have been my world and my life. But I don't think that they should be the end all be all of who I am. And this year, I don't believe in New Year's resolutions, but I do set a word or an intention for the year. And this year was really about nourishing my mind, body, and soul. And I really poured into professional nourishment and what does that look like for me. So I said this is going to go to Tom's head, but Tom is really the reason that I did a lot of this. We connected in 2022 at my first state conference, and before that, I was kind of in a difficult spot. Jay, you had mentioned in the lead-in that people leave workplaces for a variety of reasons, one being workplace culture, and I needed a change. And so now my best friend, but my professional colleague at the time, my coworker, Nicole Roberto, had invited me over to, not invited me over, but she said, you should come to the state conference. And I did. And then I met Tom, we exchanged business cards, his tip of writing where you met someone, and then he reached out and we connected. He said, "Hey, there's an opening on the state board." It just was a snowball effect. I needed like a crack of a door to be all in because I wasn't, but it wasn't because I didn't want to be, it was because of my environment. So after 4 years of kind of pouring into my personal life and pouring into finding a place that would work for me, I've really kind of settled into what's going to fill my cup professionally. And my workplace is incredible. The town of Amherst is the best place I could ever ask to work. It's amazing people, all the things that you were talking about, building a team. I would love for you to meet my team one day. They're amazing people. But this was the start of that. I'm our state conference co-chair this year. I serve on the New York State Parks and Rec Society board, and I'm our vice president of professional development there. And I just needed to push beyond that this year to see what other connections, what other opportunities. And on my bucket list for this year was NRPA. It's in Philly. It was close enough where I could take some time, be away from my kids. They are currently 16 months, and my oldest, Miles, is about to turn 3 in August. So I had 2 under 2. So I applied, and I was fortunate enough to receive the Ernest T. Atwell Diversity Externship opportunity. I'm really proud of that. My mom is from Chile, and I'm just really proud to represent a community of Latino women and just like what that means, but also just this opportunity. as my first, I was talking with Michael Ann about it, and Sarah, we met last week actually, and they're amazing. I was so inspired after that conversation. And Michael Ann goes, "Oh, this is perfect. I'm so excited that this is your first conference because that's the goal, right? We want externs, and I think that's always been the intention. And for me to have like a guiding light and people that I can lean on to say, here's what I'm really looking for. How do I sift through some of the noise and all the things that the conference has to offer? And it's amazing. And how do you do all of it all the time? But it's also, how do I take this opportunity that I probably won't get every year and squeeze every ounce of it to maximize on my goals and my intentions?
That's awesome. I think one thing that you just said there is a key thing for this externship program is I love that it's your first conference. And I would definitely agree that it's probably their goal to always have that because it's just going to open up so many new doors for you. I do want to kind of ask, like, just diving into your position, can you give a little overview on like what your role is? I am super familiar with Amherst. As Tom mentioned, I'm born and raised. That's where my parents still live. I went to Amherst High School. My parents' house is literally 3 doors down from a park. That's where I grew up. And I'll give a very, very brief story about this. And it's partly why I'm in the field I'm in. There was a program growing up that Amherst did when I was 6 years old that they had a variety of little cargo vans. It doesn't exist anymore. It was the best program in the world. But it was this summer program that they had these vans and they would actually roll out and just go to different parks and just bring counselors and, kickballs and dodgeballs and volleyballs and just board games and just like show up at the park and just like the kids would program and play.
The Red Box program?
It was the Red Box program, but then there was a mobile point to it. So it was mobile rec before it was mobile rec. Like before mobile rec was a thing, but the Red Box program was the component of that. And there was counselors at the park Monday through Friday from pretty much 9 to 5. And this red box that was 5 feet wide, 4 feet tall, that had a lock on it, just would open up every day. And it was boondoggle and arts
magic.
And it's pretty much
magic
for a
box.
6-year-old, it's magic.
Yeah, that's cool.
But, so like that was my introduction to what like recreation was. Unfortunately, that program went away like when I was in high school probably, or maybe middle school. But while I was young, it was amazing. But would love to hear more about your role and what you do and how you serve the town.
Yeah, I'd love to. And I realized that I didn't answer Tom's part 2 of what my goals are, so I'll circle back to that. But
2 parts to every question.
Yes. So to clarify, the red boxes are now purple, and we have the imagination station. So the Playmobiles, larger cargo vans, yellow and red, go out to various playgrounds throughout the summer. It's more of like a pop-up mobile type playground, so it's not every single day, but you can find us where we'll be in our program guide. We advertise where we'll be. They know, people show up. It's great. And it's a micro version of that, but it still serves a very similar purpose. We have so much going on in the town of Amherst. It's amazing. Actually, someone just said to me that we might even be competing against ourselves, right? So in the summer alone, so I'm a program supervisor for the town of Amherst. I was given this amazing opportunity. As Tom mentioned, I worked in aquatics for 15 plus years, and my like linear path is not linear at all, right? Like aquatics doesn't necessarily like directly correlate to program supervision. But in a lot of ways, the soft skills, the intangibles, the some of the tangibles you can apply directly. And my executive director, Mary Diana Polly, she's amazing. And I was telling Tom the other day, her ability to find talent and like see what other people don't see in her staff and applicants, like it's just amazing. And it's something that I hope to develop in myself, and finding the skills on the team and finding the passions and making sure that we're filling our staff's cup and hearing them even when they're not saying things, and that that kind of thing. So I'm grateful because she saw what I could apply from what I did and what I knew, and apply it here. And it's been great. So I oversee all program operations for the town of Amherst Youth and Recreation Department. As the program supervisor, I work with 4 directs who work with the full-time program leaders who run our programs. In the summer, we have everything you could probably name programmatically. We have 2 outdoor pools. We have several, playgrounds and parks and mobile operations with, as we said, with the Imagination Station. We have archery, we have tennis, we have sports clinics at multiple sites. We have 6 Department of Health permitted summer camps, and kind of everything in between. We have a family room program that's birth to 5 years old. And then during the year, we have 4 after-school licensed sites. We continue our family room program. We have a preschool program for ages 3 to 4, as well as all of our outreach programming, which is somewhere around 200 various different programs throughout the year. We focus on birth to adult. Senior services are a separate department from us, but it's not like someone turns 60 and we turn them away. So we service everyone. We love everyone. We have several different adaptive programs as well, and developing that, teen programming, rec nights, special events, you name it.
You can tell you're incredibly passionate about what you do, which is awesome. It's great to see it just come across. Tom, we actually had Jordy on before he was an extern, but I don't even know if he had been told yet. So
He wasn't.
Yeah,
So that was not part of the discussion.
But one of the questions we did ask Jordy, and I think it'll be different for you because of where you are in your life. You had a photo of Tom Jr. and Shane Jr. There. No, Miles and Atlas, great names. Yeah. We thought about Miles. We couldn't wrap our head around Miles Mize. It almost just sounded like some slur at some point that was just coming out. And so I would love to hear a little bit more about something we asked Jordy was, what did he have to sacrifice to show up to be the person he is every day as a leader? And I think with as much passion as you have for everything you're doing, and I'm sure you want to be not toes deep, but freaking neck deep in everything, you've got, a family too, right? That's growing and needs you and wants to see you, and you want to be there for those things. And we've talked about those things. I think some of what Hannah's podcast talks about that. And, your incredible email you sent to me to forward to Hannah that she was much better than I am.
Because you didn't have Hannah's email.
We agree 100%. But there's got to be something that you have to sacrifice, that you have to do to show up to be the leader that this job and the people that you lead require of you, this agency needs out of you. I'd love to hear a little bit more about it.
I think it's an amazing question, and it's such a difficult question, because if you asked me if I sacrificed anything, I would say no.
Sure.
Because I really try and be an all-in person in whatever I'm doing. However, right, you're only one person, and something has to give. And generally, I think with all-in people who tend to make very calculated choices, but also say yes to everything because it is fulfilling, those people tend to burn out. And so I would say sacrifice for me is probably emotional and mental capacity, maybe more than anything. Mom brain is real, right? But also just there's so many things going on in my life, and they're amazing things, and I don't want to give up any of them. So you find a way. I think the beauty, and I know you've talked about this on your podcast before, is the beauty of this profession. And so many times in various agencies, we have flexibility in when we can do our office work and those kinds of things. So for me, I think it's less about sacrifice, and it's more about how have I found a way to make it work for me. I was telling Tom this story the other day too, that I've always been that kind of person to take a system and make it work for me. My degree is, I have an individualized studies degree, my undergrad in international event management. I put 4 different degrees together to make a degree.
International event
and
management.
it's legit. Yeah, I studied abroad in Manchester, England. So we can talk soccer a little bit.
Let's go.
Shane's dream right there.
Yeah.
I did go to a Man U Man City game and it was nuts. I also went to a Madrid Real game. It was awesome, insane. But
huge rivalries, guys.
I know.
That's like huge rivalries. Yeah.
Yeah. So I hate to use the word sacrifice because I don't believe that I am, but I do think that at points like, right, you hit your max. And so at that point, I think it's just how do you decompress and how do you minimize that feeling of feeling like you've tapped out.
It's interesting, the word sacrifice. Hannah and I have talked, and when you think sacrifice, it's always negative, right? From biblical times on, like it's never really talked about positively. But there is something joyful or sweet about making a decision. And when you think, if you think I'm not making any type, quote unquote, even in the greatest way, sacrifice, then what ultimately is happening is that quote unquote sacrifice is pushed onto a family member. Like they're now feeling it, right? You know what I mean? So like maybe you didn't make any types of sacrifices, but now your family doesn't see you as much. And that's the sacrifice. And all of that's still okay because like you said, you're a parent, but that's not the only thing you are. And what I am somewhat fascinated by in a lot of what I see on very European cultures is that the kids, not only they grow up, they move off. And when I say off, to a continent. You know, you meet people all the time. It's like, yeah, my family all live in Australia, but I live here. My family all live in Portugal, but I live here. And that is a family that has figured out that my job is to love you and to raise you, and your job is to go make the most of it at some point. And I don't see success, and I can't because my daughter lives in Maine. So I can't very well say I see success as a parent as all my kids living on the same street as me or as neighborhood as me, or me seeing them every Saturday night, because I don't see my daughter every Saturday night. Hannah and her talk damn near every day, but I don't see her every, you know, she lives in Maine. And I hope all of my kids live wherever the hell they have to live to be the person they want to be, to do the thing they want to do. And so, you know, I think it's tough. We've talked to people on Hannah's podcast that it's tough to feel like you're quote unquote sacrificing something, or you're not, but they're making some sort of sacrifice because their parent isn't the bank president that works 9 to 5, so they see him every night. But it's not a bad thing. I don't believe it makes them stronger, more resilient, and it makes them realize that there's an independence to their life. And if they want to live next to us, cool. I've graduated 4 kids. 2 of them still live in that freaking room right over there. So it's okay. But when they want to leave, you're not hurting our feelings. You're not breaking our hearts. We're excited for you to go do the thing that independently makes you who you are too, you know?
Yeah. And I just want to touch on something about family really quickly. Like my husband is the most amazing person that I know. And for a number of reasons, but it's also because he lets me be me, right? Like he is home in this season specifically, right? Like, and not so much like in season in my role, it is the 6 weeks leading into the start of week 1, which we are in week 1 right now. And for the last 6 weeks, I have not been home for bedtime 4 nights out of the week, 3 nights out of the week. You know, we sit down at the start of the week, we go through the calendar, who's doing what, who's coming over to help with bedtime. If you need some relief, my son is teething, his canines are coming in. My oldest, we just got the passy. Like there's so much going on all the time. I live in chaos, but I also like feel like as a Parks and Rec professional, you kind of thrive in that environment. But for me, like hearing that is great perspective. And he knows that. Like I just appreciate him for letting me do this line of work because it is a sacrifice to not be home for bedtime. It is a sacrifice to not be with him, right? But and also it is a huge, it's just a huge commitment, I think, to our relationship and our partnership and understanding where our boundaries are and like, okay, are you okay with this week? This is an optional meeting. This, like, I don't necessarily need to be here, or I can try and leave early so that I can be home for bedtime and then I go back there. In this season, like, I've probably come back to work after bedtime again, like 3 or 4 nights a week in preseason. So when we talk about sacrifice and partnership in this field, as a young professional, as a young parent, there are immense sacrifices, if we want to classify it that way, that I think only make you stronger as a professional, and knowing your boundaries as a parent and understanding the dynamic that can have at home and with your kids and with your partner, because it all is a working cycle. And if one part isn't working, then it's going to affect you. It's going to affect your work. It's going to affect your home dynamic. And so I think just open communication, honesty, and transparency, and teeing it up the right way.
Yeah, this is a really nice conversation. This sounds a lot like some of the conversations we've had with the spouse episode on this Parks and Rec life. And I want to kind of transition a little bit from sacrifices to identity. And Shane, you said it actually, and it was almost as if you had been a part of the conversation that Naomi and I had prior to the episode. You had mentioned that, because you're a mom, that's not all that you are.
Yeah.
And so I want to expand on that, or think about it from this perspective. When we go to work, we have an identity. When we go to a conference, we have an identity. And then we go home and we have a totally different identity. And I think that's a lot of what you just talked about, Naomi. The identity that my wife, that Melissa sees of me is a lot different than maybe the identity that you all have for me, or the people in my office, or my family even. Melissa gets it more than anybody, just like your husband, Naomi, and just like, Hannah and Lindsay, they get it more than anybody. But perhaps my mom or my brother or my in-laws, they don't. And it's not because they don't care for me. It's because I'm very humble. I do not talk a lot about what we do. I think that's a pretty common trait with Parks and Rec professionals. We even talk about how we're guilty of not promoting our own profession. So if we're not going to promote our own profession, I don't think a lot of us are promoting or self-promoting. And so, people will come up to me and my family and they'll hear about the podcast because maybe Hannah put something up on social media or whatever it is. LinkedIn Tom is a lot different than social media, Facebook, Instagram Tom, who's basically non-existent and is sharing a lot about his kids and the fun things that we do in this household. So I say all that to get into a conversation that stuck with me that you and I talked about. And because you're a mom and you're a super passionate mom, you're a super passionate professional, you love your kids, but to some people in your life, you may be viewed only as a mother, and you take so much immense pride in the work you do. And it's a lot more than that. And just like Shane, I think, said, and Naomi, you agreed, it's okay. It's okay to be more than a passionate mom. It's amazing. It's admirable, I think, when people do. And not only admirable, it's rare when people love what they do. We've had that conversation before as well. So maybe tell us a little bit of the anecdote that you told me of how you live with that. And I think it's powerful for people to understand that those identities, although different, can be something we can be proud of in almost every setting. How is that motherhood and professional identity? How do those work for you? How do you really kind of delineate between those in different settings?
Yeah. So what Tom may or may not be referring to is we've had many conversations, but one specifically about identity and perception and what you're putting out and what people are seeing. And through the grapevine, I heard a little birdie had told me that my brother, who has just recently become a dad, said, and he's a business owner. He owns a gym. He's very successful. And he said that he didn't want to be like me, in that my whole life was my kids and my family. And he's my brother. Like we talk, but like I don't necessarily talk shop with him. Like it's a very different world. And so yeah, and that was like really eye-opening because you're right. What people are seeing, what people are seeing on my social media, it's all kids. It's all my kids. It's all the things we're doing, like what we're going out and doing. But what they don't see are all the very awesome, cool things that I'm doing, both like at my full-time job and what I'm doing professionally there, and also what I'm doing with the State Society and all the other kind of extra things, right? We're seeking in the next year or two to start the CAPRA route, and some of the awards that I have, received, and the podcast and like all the things, right? And I'm not like a gloater. I do it because I love it. I'm not doing it for anybody else. But I do think that we've had so many conversations with so many people, especially at the state level, of we don't do a good job of saying good job to ourselves and advocating for ourselves and the profession and letting people know. And I think once I realized that, I'm a little bit better about it. And my husband, his name is Ryan. So Ryan gets it all the time. And he's like, I'm like, oh my God, look at that facility, or we got to go to that park. And like, I'm like gushing about stuff, and he's like in it with me, but he's with me all the time. It's just not something that I am talking about outside of that, because I don't feel like I need to, and I probably should more.
He gets the Facebook and the LinkedIn when someone else only gets
Yes.
one or the other, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. Like on my story, it's my kids and my husband and I out doing whatever. Because I'm working when I'm working.
Just send your brother a LinkedIn
I'm
follow.
gonna do that after this.
Then it'll be fine. You'll have solved every problem.
He's gonna call me once this comes out.
Great.
Okay, well, speaking of podcast, I want to know what your podcast is, how long it's been going on, what's the topic, and how did it come about?
And are you interested in buying out any other podcasts?
Or taking anybody's place
Yeah.
on another podcast?
That is a great and loaded question. I stepped into the vice president of professional development for NYSRPS maybe 2.5 years ago. And when I did that, I really wanted to dive into what we were doing for the membership and how are we connecting people and what services are we offering. And we have a great conference. We do a lot of good things, but I didn't feel like there was a way to tell our story. The podcast is called NYS Parks and Rec Together. It just started. We started it 2 years ago, but I just launched it because I am a one-woman show. I am also, but I'm doing it with the state society representation, but it is just me. I will give you kind of what it looks like in the format, but I needed something personally at that time. I also needed something for the membership, really. I needed storytelling. I needed an opportunity and a way to connect people. What we had first launched prior to that, I developed a leadership academy for New York State, and that was ready, launched, and it didn't go. We just didn't get enough applicants. We need to reimagine it and just find a way that it can work for New York State and the membership financially, location-wise, timeline, all of the things. We had some, but just not enough to run it. And so out of that came some brainstorming and thinking about what we can do to connect people, tell stories, celebrate ourselves. And thus the podcast was born. And then I got pregnant and had my second child, and everything sat. I started a new job, but the episodes had been recorded. And so this year, in my year of nourishment, I came back to it and started recording again. And we had just launched the first episode at the end of May. Our second episode is actually coming out tonight. So,
Nice.
so I'll send you the link.
Love it.
The
Please do.
format. So I'm our stationed host. I record, I set up everything. I work with scheduling the guests and all of that. And then I have a series co-host. So we have like a 3 to 5 episode series of whatever it is that the discussions that we're talking about. So the first series is the past, present, and future of NYSRPS, just to get some context of where we've been, where we are, where we want to go, and having some honest conversations around that. We've recorded episodes around mental health and the importance of mental health and mental well-being and emotional wellness of Parks and Rec professionals. It kind of bubbled out of the state conference in a really, really popular and necessary roundtable at the last state conference. Ryan Rockefeller, who actually works in Hilton-Parma with Tom as the assistant director there, he was my co-host for the series. He hosted the roundtable at the conference. And yeah, we've actually, I had Brian Emelson on, which I know you had on.
He could talk about Manchester City too.
He could. And we've recorded we're recording right now. We're in process of conference conversation just because we're going to tee it up for the conference coming up. So because I'm a one-woman show, it comes out monthly. So yeah.
What's the editing tool, Naomi? We gotta just, before I forget.
Oh yeah, this is not a plug.
Hannah knows this.
I went into chat and I said, I'm a one-woman show, I'm doing this podcast, blah, 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 blah. What can I do to edit? Because it needs to be. Descript, free, can remove words, add words, use AI voice if you need to regenerate, if you have some cutouts or some things that didn't quite flow right. And
or what if you don't hit record?
You're fucked. I can tell you that one.
I can't. And you're probably paying a premium for that one.
Earmuffs Rooney, you're fucked.
But
Earmuffs Atlas and Miles.
Yeah, that tool alone has been like hugely beneficial to edit and just kind of make the process a little bit easier for me. But it's been wildly rewarding, both for myself and I think for the people who are part of the conversations. We've heard nothing but great feedback. I'm sure you hear the same here. It started as, a cause for the membership, but also it's personal. This is something, again, like that's going to fill my cup up, and like anybody could have done this, but I wanted to. And, maybe one day it gets handed off to the next vice president of professional development, but for right now, I'm really happy wearing that hat.
Well, you know what, Naomi, this is an interesting question that you don't have to answer if you don't feel comfortable. But what, I don't know the logistics of who has the accounts and whatnot, but for what it's worth, could it stay? Does it have to be through the society? And I don't mean that in a bad way, but I mean, it's could
no,
be.
I mean, I don't think so. We represent the NYSRPS community and the society as a whole and all of that. But no, it was born and raised here in Buffalo, New York.
It can be addicting. Like we've talked about this for anyone that's actually the 5 listeners that we have, but this started as something that was a mental health break in some capacity, and we just wanted to shoot shit with each other and get away from work a little bit, just mentally recharge. It's become much more than that, and it's not easy. It is a labor of love. Hannah's got it worse than all of us, but none of it's easy. She's editing the Chris Clark episode, I think, right now, that people will get to hear in a couple of weeks. But it's one of those things that what's funny, and my question to you is, you're an ENFJ, right? Mm-hmm. I'm an INFJ. I don't think these two knuckleheads even know what they are. I think we've asked that in the past. Y'all aren't 16 personalities people or Myers-Briggs people, right?
Correct.
I have not taken it.
Yeah. But as someone, I would expect an extrovert to love the conversations, but even as an introvert, the personal conversations, the one-on-one, I wouldn't want to do this, ironically, in a room full of people, and we have. But just getting to have a conversation actually is very fill your cup back up.
I think it's intimate, right? Yep. Like, I don't think you have to be an extrovert to have a 3 or 4 on one conversation.
It allows for hard conversations, true conversations to happen. And I think we all appreciate that at some capacity or another. So I looked up ENFJs because there's 16 personalities and I'm not familiar with all of them, just selfishly mine. You are known for people that excel, passionate communicators, community builders, vocal advocates for social causes. Guys, here are some examples of other ENFJs that you may know. Matthew McConaughey, Zendaya, Reese Witherspoon, Oprah Winfrey, Bono, Martin Luther King, Obama. Pretty good list of people to be associated with. The E in ENFJ is introvert or extroverted. The I is introverted on that scale. So thinking of your ENFJ-ness and that you're getting to go to a national conference for the first time, as an extrovert, I think that would be pretty exciting. I wouldn't know what that feels like, but I would think it's exciting. What are you most excited about?
So many things. I'm
That's
excited.
The most extroverted answer.
Getting to meet Hannah Mize, right? Getting to meet Hannah Mize. That's right.
Yes. Letting her know that I made buttons for everyone. I'm just kidding. I am though. I am excited for the entire experience. I drank the Kool-Aid 4 years ago at the state level. I want to drink the Kool-Aid here at the national level.
It's a fire hose here. Like
yes,
it is different.
I'm ready.
It is, and goes so fast, and there's so much going on that like it is a total fire hose.
I'm also really excited to check personal boxes, like personal professional boxes, like in going back to some of my goals of why I had applied for the externship to begin with and why I felt like I could really represent the externship role and take as much as I can from it. I mentioned to Tom earlier in the year, one of my goals for this year, which kind of led me to apply, was expanding my network. And the extrovert in me is ready to have all the conversations. But I believe networking, like true networking, they shouldn't be surface level, right? They need to be meaningful connections and meaningful conversations. So for me, I'm really looking at like meeting as many people and then finding people that I really connect with personally, right? Like, I want what you guys have. Like, this is awesome. This is great. I want to find my inner circle and people that I want that. So I want to be able to just connect with as many people and see who speaks my language and who connects with me. And I think it's a two-way street. So there's a little bit of that. I also think that I am really interested in advancement. I love what I do, but I also know that I'm capable of more. And so I think for me, this conference is also about stretching outside of my box and maybe going to some sessions that I wouldn't normally go to or have conversations or ask the questions that I might not normally ask, right? I have no experience in parks ops, but like, could I go to a session for that and learn a little bit or, budget management, whatever it might be. And like taking this opportunity to hear from people that I don't get to hear from every day, especially at the state conference, learning and taking some that I can apply to my own role, obviously.
We don't want to put Amherst on blast or get them all worried that you're going to leave, but this is a step in your career advancement too, right? Like this is one of those things that, I mean, you're not going to leave tomorrow, but you probably want to be a director someday, or you want to continue to see what opportunities are out there and explore them and expand the network, getting exposed to other professional development opportunities, getting to meet other people, like-minded people, as ambitious or whatever. All those things is, it's just great. It's tough for me to ever see a bad reason about going to conference, the national conference. Like I know there's a lot of people. I know you could feel lost. Maybe you're a one-person department and you show up, but Emmy that we had on a while back, she's a one-person department. She's figuring it out and has made her own network based off of how small. So it is exactly what you make of it. So I'm excited for you.
I want to be super clear. I love where I work. I love the community. Tell them. I think that there's opportunity here to grow.
Tell them loud.
But
We weren't
I
saying that.
also want the tools to be able to do that.
Oh, when the time comes, you want to be prepared, and that's what part of that is being able to gain as much as you can from a national opportunity and have those resources that you're going to meet in September that you might rely on in 2 years. Like you'll meet someone that'll trigger a conversation that like you may not be looking now, or maybe not looking for 5 years, but like that connection you made in Philly might come forward in 5 years. So, and I love what you said about the sessions and park ops, and Shane and I are opposite on that topic of like, I'm all that. Like I want to pursue some areas of knowledge that I'm not necessarily like doing every day in my job, and not just be focused on, I do a lot of programming, I do a lot of camps, I do a lot of athletics, I do a lot. So, but I want to do the other sides too. So I want to be able to go to those sessions. And, Shane has used the terminology of being like the perfectionist in like one area versus generalist in all of them. And maybe that's not the right terminology, but same concept.
I just feel like I don't have to know anything about aquatics, and I don't to lead a team of people that has aquatics under them. Like I could not take you to a pump house. I cannot take you to a pump house and explain anything about the pump system. And if we ever got to a point where the success and failure of that pump system falls on me, we're in a lot of trouble. But I know even in that, I could just third party it and we'd pay something, we'd figure it out. And so like, I want to take leadership classes. I want to learn. I want to continue to sharpen my sword leadership wise so I can be the best leader for my aquatic staff. Not so I can come in and say like, hey, I actually heard this great thing from an aquatics person and we need to be doing something differently. No, I want to trust them. I want to ask them. I want to challenge them to make sure we're doing things correctly. But I'm trying to get better as a leader or as a director in those conferences, not trying to generalize my knowledge base or widen my knowledge base. It's just a difference. This isn't a shocker, but it's a difference in opinions between Jay and I.
It is, but and you guys have stressed that. But I want to, on the side of Jay here, there's an understanding.
He doesn't need help. He's got the whole fucking industry on his side.
There's an understanding of the people that do the work that they appreciate. And so just to go into one of the sessions, just to appreciate a little bit of what they're doing. I'm not saying you need to know all the ins and outs and know how to operate that pump house, but understand what goes into it. There's a lot. It could feel underappreciated at times.
I don't underappreciate what they're doing or disregard their knowledge. I don't marginalize them.
It totally sounds like you do.
See, my thing is, I know we're going to get like totally off tangent, is like, I'll use the aquatics because you went down the aquatics road. If my two people that work for me leave, and like I need to have some basic knowledge of aquatics because like they're gone. They put in their notice, they quit, and I don't fill that position immediately. I need to be able to like step in and be like, okay, I can run the pump house.
What are you getting from 1 hour session at NRPA that you're gonna be able to run the fucking pump house?
But like what you're not thinking about is not,
you know how many sessions you'd have to go to so you could fill in for them?
But okay, take away the pump house. I'm talking about, I get maybe you don't get these questions, but like I get questions from either elected officials or city manager's office, and like I need to have general knowledge of aquatics.
Sure, you should have general knowledge of everything.
I don't want to have to be like, oh, let me call you back in 3 days when I get a hold of my aquatics team. I want to be able to have that knowledge on the spot so I look like I know what I'm doing.
Okay.
On my externship mentor and buddy call, Michael and Lord suggested to stretch my box and attend as many sessions that I wouldn't have the opportunity to.
Like I said, the whole industry's on his side.
For what it's worth, I do see both sides, but I also believe that being able to speak the language to a certain degree is helpful.
It is, and appreciated. So, okay, a couple things there that I want to unwrap and have one more question before we hit rapid fire, because we've taken up a lot of your time, and I know so much from our conversations that I'd love to talk about, but I'll make it quick. You just mentioned something that you said to me that I really appreciated in one of our conversations, and Michael Ann said about expand the box or get out of the box, as we tend to say. And you mentioned it, you phrased it as, I've never been one to sit in a box. Okay, so try to unwrap that, everybody who's listening, is that, you don't stay in your own box. And Naomi clearly has some definite experience of going outside of the comfort levels here and there. You also just talked about along those lines, something that's really, I think, really great for someone who's looking to expand their opportunities and their knowledge set. Recently, you've been working with your executive director and others to sit in on meetings and have conversations about things that are not necessarily under the program supervisor job description, right? To basically self-train yourself for when the opportunity comes. And I had a hard conversation with Ryan Rockefeller, who's been mentioned twice on this, that I wasn't doing my best for him as an assistant director to prepare him for when that director job came. And he advocated for himself. He said, I want to sit in on this meeting. I want to sit in on that, on this and that, or whatever it was. And it's been amazing for me. It's been helpful for me as a leader to understand that perspective, which also goes into kind of a whole agency thinking. There are a lot of agencies out there that are siloed, and that someone does this, someone does this, someone does this, and you have to call, if you're someone on the public end, you have to call this department or that sector of the department to find information, as opposed to calling one number, and someone from that team has general information. Maybe it's about aquatics, maybe it's about summer camp. Everybody knows a little bit. And so, I think about these concepts that are really your toolbox and helping you grow and what you can do. And you've used those, you've leveraged all of that to really make this a passion and a career. I say this all in a roundabout way, that you are amazing at what you do. And we almost, and I say we as a profession, almost lost you.
Yeah.
And I would love it if you're giving us all these nuggets. And I'd love it if you can tell us just a little bit about the story of how did we almost lose you? You don't have to get crazy in detail. And what
was it in a pump house? Did we almost lose you in a pump house?
We've already, and I know that we've kind of talked about how we brought you back a little bit, which was the professional development end of it, the conferences, but there's a little more to it as well.
Ultimately, I think it comes down to some of the points that you were really talking about in the pre-lead up into me coming on, and how workplace culture and respect and mutual respect and understanding play a role in everything, and how that can lead to burnout and to losing really good people. So back in, I've only been here for 2 years in the town of Amherst. Before that, I was at a different agency, and it started out really great. I started there in 2013, and I became full-time in 2016, and that was like such a great thing. And then we had some administrative changes. Our town board had shifted, and it just changed everything for my perspective. Again, I was telling Tom, like, I fell into this. I don't know if I really knew what I wanted to do. Like, you ask kids, when I was little, I wanted to be a motivational speaker. Like, that's what I wanted to do. I thought I was going to be a fashion designer or a motivational speaker. I went on to event planning because I loved that, and I've just kind of turned all of that into this career. But I think I was searching for a purpose. And when I fell into this, I was in aquatics, and I was like, I'm the water girl. Like, that's what I'm good at. That's what I know. I was a swim coach. I taught swim lessons. I was doing aquatics direction. I was the aquatics director for a country club. And then I was for a learn to swim program year round. And then I was given this opportunity, and that's all I knew. So my scope of like what Parks and Rec was like really small. And because I was in a siloed facility or a siloed department, and like it was just pools. And then in 2020, when COVID hit, we were scattered. We were doing things. I was driving Meals on Wheels. We had to remain essential. I was like at the golf course because people could golf. And then the pools opened up. So I went back to aquatics. There were opportunities that were available, and then all of a sudden they weren't available. And it was just one of those things that just so much work went into this, and reimagining what my role was and what I was doing. And I took on fitness, and then I was, our community wellness director for a little bit with more responsibility. And lateral status. And then I told Tom, I look at my life in moments of time. Like there was something that happened, and like that moment of time changed everything for me. A little bit of rage, like a little bit of anger, a little bit of jadedness, and that was maybe building, but there was a moment in time where I was just in a storm. And I think out of that comes great things, right? Like out of a storm, like amazing things can happen. So like from there, in that moment of time, sometime in 2021, like I was just not in a great place. I went back to school for art education. I was like, I just know I want to like work with people. I want to make an impact on people's lives. And my scope was still so small. And then I mentioned her earlier, but my colleague at the time, and now my very best friend, Nicole Roberto, who is the Deputy Commissioner of Recreation for Erie County, she was like, just put in to come to the conference, like this, come with me to the state conference, like see if they'll approve it and we'll go. And then that moment in time, my very first state conference, like changed the trajectory of my entire path. Taking an opportunity that was in front of me and how that shaped it just like blew my mind. I was like, oh my God, like I didn't even know that I could do all these things. I didn't realize because I was so siloed. And from there, it just took some like opportunity seeking, some connection. Again, my homegirl, Nicole, like connected me with my executive director now, and the rest is just kind of history. We talked a little bit about I don't even know if that answered your question, but thank you for listening to my story.
I love that because I think Pflugerville has every right at some point, and I think I've said this on the podcast. We don't own these positions; we rent them. We're leasing. You know, like we get them for a period of time, and we try to make the impact that we can make on them. But like Pflugerville has every right at one time or another to maybe devalue parks, in my view. I look at parks as they should be supported in this way. Parks and Rec needs to be funded this way. And Pflugerville, for one reason or 12 others, may say, we're no longer going to look at them in this way. We're going to look at them this way. They have every right to do that. I have every right to just at some point say, I can go somewhere else. You know, and I think there is something beautiful about as an agency, ambition changes one way or another, and your doesn't change with that. It's okay for you to fall off and find some place where your agency matches your ambition now. And if that's 3 years or 13 years, I think that's okay. I don't know if we do a good enough job in the industry telling people that, right. But your ambition, your values, your focus on what you want to see out of Parks and Rec as a whole, and the offering and the system and the deferred maintenance that you inherit and everything else doesn't always align with the city leadership. And you get to decide if you want to stay and try to change that or educate that and grow through that. Or if you say, not anymore, and that's okay. You know, it's actually amazing. It's you know, it's like manna from heaven. Like it's everything you want, like to know that you can leave a place that you no longer are aligned with. And it's okay for them to have that feeling. And it's okay for you to have that feeling.
Yeah. My degree is in creativity and change leadership. And what that means, so everyone understands, is it is the science of creative problem solving. It's a master's of science degree. I have a minor in creativity and leadership as well. So I kind of grew up in that program through college and then went back for my master's. And what that did for me, and maybe some people in my personal life would disagree because it's different, but it allowed me to look at challenges and problems in a way that everything has a solution. Tom, whether he remembers it or not, at my second conference, sat in on my session that I talked about our model and like how you can go through the process yourself on a personal or professional level and apply that mindset of thinking both intrinsically and kind of like establish that for yourself, but also how do you create a whole culture around that? And like, okay, so it's not no, but it's something else, right? Like, and whether the answer is no, we went through the process to get there because of XYZ, right? Like, we look at all the tangibles and intangibles of what are resistors, assisters, and so forth. So the creative problem solving process, I think, gave me a chance to, and that like foundational building block gave me a chance to really look at that challenge that was every component of my life, personal and professional, because it felt like it was infiltrating into my personal and affecting who I was. And I just feel so free here, and validated, and that I can apply all the things into my role. And it's a great feeling.
Well, I think it's, Shane said it best, but it's a story of hope for individuals that they're, if they're in a situation like this, that there's definitely, I don't think a way out's the best way to put it, but there's
Options.
definitely, yes, there are options out there, and it's not like that everywhere.
It's not one path to the top.
Yes.
There's a lot of different ways to climb the mountain. So
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So we will move on to rapid fire for a few moments here. I've got a couple fun questions. I'm sure these guys do too. We're going to try to make these a little shorter. Who knows? If I can't get out a question that short, then it's going to take forever anyway, just like I'm saying right now. So my first question, I will start with, first of all, guys, Naomi's a Disney fan. Just so you know. Okay. She's a Disney fan. So I do have a funny question about that, in that NRPA, you said it's like drinking out of a fire hose. Well, also NRPA is kind of this like gateway, and Disney is like a gateway. You go there and you want to go back again and again and again if you're me and if you're Naomi. And NRPA, I guarantee you're going to have similar feelings about that, Naomi, if I know anything about you and our experiences and your experience with NYSRPS. But if you had to compare us all, the four of us, including yourself, to a Disney character, please give us our Disney characters.
Oh, wow. What a question. I wish I was prepared for this.
I did not prep you for this. No.
I will start with myself, since I know myself the best, and I will stall as I think of everything else. I will choose Moana for myself. I could elaborate, but I think based on the conversation, maybe we've put two and two together for why. She's just an incredibly independent, strong-willed,
perseverance. Yeah, sure.
Girl in the story, and also that she's related back to water. So like it's all tied in. Tom, I'll go with you next. That's so challenging. I think that if I had to choose, I think that I'm going to choose Mickey Mouse, but because I know that's the obvious. I know it's the obvious answer, but the reason I'm saying that, I'm going to elaborate and tell you why, because I think that Tom has again, I'm going to his head, but I think he has an incredible ability of making everyone feel welcome in the room. And I think that Mickey Mouse does the same, right? He is the representation of Disney. And I think I was just telling a story to someone, my mom, actually. We were talking about me coming on and all these things. And I said, Tom is the kind of person who, if he sees you, like, and he knows what you're looking for, he's going to bring you into that fold, right? Like if he's having a conversation and he sees you standing there and he's talking to some people, he's going to say, hey, come on over. Why don't you meet these people? And I just think that you kind of represent what Disney represents, which is that like a kind heart, welcoming, good service, like all of those traits. So obvious answer or not, I'm standing by it.
I'm going to retire today. And I thought it was this. I honestly thought that Mickey Mouse was the shirt and I can't even see earphones.
It, but no. Oh.
I'm going to do the Myers-Briggs of all of them when she tells us. So Tom's Mickey Mouse, he would be an ENFP, extroverted, intuitive, feeling, perceiving.
Okay. Shane, I'm going to go with you next.
Okay.
I think that you're really not going to like this answer, but I'm going to put it out anyway.
You won't even know.
I'm going to say,
probably not.
I'm going to say Carl from Up.
You nailed it. Nailed it. He's a
100%.
good man, but
He is. So I
real
think he puts on this
crusty,
like
very crusty.
front of maybe being, a little gruff, a little like not, like doesn't want to
Yeah.
open up, a little introverted, all the
Nailed it.
things. But when you talk to him and he opens up his entire heart to you. And like I just feel like that from what I don't know you, but from what I can tell of our conversations, I think that that's you.
Okay, he's an ISTJ. Pretty close.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
Jay,
Jay, you're just such a mystery to me. I
If you could use one of the princesses, it would be
kind of
great.
like it's kind of like Gaston. Just kidding.
I'm going perfect.
Bad guy.
Oh, Tom, help me. Give me a little bit of help with this.
A lot of morale.
Sebastian
Always-
from Little Mermaid.
Always pushing people to be better.
Okay.
Leading.
I think Sebastian's a discerner.
I am going to say that I'm going to say Simba, in that I think that there's a lot of pride. I think that he's always, once he has realized that he needs to, and this is maybe early, I don't know, but I feel like he's always growing. I feel like he's always like kind of taking people into his circle once he kind of gets there. But I'm going to stand by Simba.
Kills his
And
uncle,
that's-
by the way.
Good.
Just
He does.
Just so you
He
know.
does. He's kind of like a Simba Rafiki mix. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Move on here. Let's go, Jay and Shane. Get a
Yes,
question
FB.
in.
Okay.
I loved it though. Thank you, Naomi. That was great.
Yep.
I got one. I don't know if Shane does, but I got one. And I don't know if you are a wing fan, but maybe your husband is. If you're not, as a Buffalonian, we take our wings very seriously. What is your go-to wing spot in Buffalo?
Now you reconnected with your husband at
This is a great tie-in. Yes,
Duff's, correct?
Yes, we are not. We went to the same high school. We are not high school sweethearts. I was, in fact, at a Duff's and with my family, and he walked in, and he will hate that I'm saying this, but he did not make. He came over to the table, but I made the first move and texted him after seeing him at Duff's, and the rest is kind of history.
Okay.
There's a lot of history in between that,
Is
but I'll
it
leave it
Duff's
at that.
because of that?
No, it's
Okay,
not.
okay.
Duff's has great wings, great sauce.
Great sauce,
I'm a flats girl. My husband is a drums guy, so we it works out really well. For me, it's all in the sauce. We grew up in Alden. They have carbones. It's amazing, great pizza. But for me in Buffalo, my top three would be Sal's. Have you ever been there?
I haven't, but I go to a new place every time I'm home, so I'll put it on
Okay.
my list.
Yeah, Sal's is a hole-in-the-wall place which have the best wings. So Sal's, I love Gabriel's Gate. I love Kelly's Corner, but I would say that my number one wings right now are Elmo's.
Okay. Double double sauced.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Sometimes
That's
charred.
impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
So
not
good.
I'm not a barbecue fan on wings, so we go sometimes we'll do garlic parm because my husband really likes it, but
No,
generally
Elmo's is
just
really good.
straight up medium or hot.
Okay.
You ever heard of Hooters? Let's see. My question, you were in Manchester, City or United?
Oh, Man United.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Glory, glory. Okay.
Yeah.
It's good to know.
All right, so we gotta, I think we may have a hard stop here coming up, but I do want to ask to make Jay jealous. The New York, we didn't get to this. The New York State Conference is in Buffalo.
Yes,
You are the co-chair.
I am.
What is the one? I know there's a ton to be excited about, but what are you most excited about? Is it Highmark? What is it?
I'm excited that after 19 years, we get to bring the state back to Buffalo and show them what we're made of. But if I had to put like a very pinpointed specific answer, it is, in fact, that we will be at the new Highmark Stadium for our opening keynote and social. in the field club there, and take our membership and our attendees through the stadium for a tour. And our keynote ties into the Bills organization. And so it's just really, really a cool opportunity. And the program, I mean, Tom serves on the program committee, and he's up on like who we're bringing in, and like all the sessions and just the educational opportunities. And we have great sponsors, and just it's all starting to come together, which is just really exciting. I could talk a lot about that too, but yeah, we hope to see you there.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for being on. This is a great episode.
Thank you so much. I can't wait to meet you guys in person in Philly.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Right.
Philly.
I'll bring balloons.
I'll make sure. I can't wait to meet Hannah too. So please tell her that I'm excited.
That's right.
Awesome, Naomi. Thank you so much. I really can't thank you enough. And you know, it's been so great to get to know you and to now get the opportunity for you to share with so many other people the great things you're doing. So thank you.
Thank you.
We'll
good luck with your summer
soon in Philly.
Thank you. I'll see you guys later.
See ya.
Bye-bye. All right, guys.
That was a lot of fun.
Buffalonian.
Cool.
Right
I love
there.
So Amherst got better when Jay left.
That's what I was going to say.
We can wrap
same
on that.
Thing that she said. It's gotten so much better, and the irony
and proportionally how far away. Right? Yeah.
Well, it's been a long time. I've been gone for 20 years, so
that's peak. That's what she was saying.
Yeah. What's it? Red box became purple box. That's even better.
Yeah.
So
that's great.
Yeah, excited to
she
see
was
her.
so passionate, so cool to listen to. You know, I loved her story. I think a lot of people will connect with that too.
Yeah, and definitely looking forward to meeting her at conference and talking about her first conference experience after. So
she's got some good stewards with Michael Ann and Sarah too. They'll take 100%. Care of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm excited. I've been learning so much more about her. I've known her for a few years now, and over the last few months since the beginning of this year, we've kind of connected on a more official basis once or twice, or once every month or once every other month, and with some calls. And I just enjoy learning about her. And we actually had a call scheduled today, and we had talked obviously when we did about moving the Friday spot to the Thursday, and I was like, wow, this worked out really, really well. And she's been on my list for a while. So I hope that our listeners enjoyed it. Guys, I appreciate the both of you. I hope you all have a happy 4th, safe 4th. Keep all your fingers if you're going to be playing with fireworks.
Right.
As Michael Biedenstein reminded us today in a group chat. And we will see you all next time on RecLess.
See ya.
See you guys. Here at RecLess, we love to give back to the community that we're so passionate about. We do that by providing scholarships to professionals to attend conferences they may not otherwise be able to attend. That's where you come in, sponsorships. If you are interested in a sponsorship, we'd love to connect with you. So this spot could be yours. Contact us today at recklesspod@gmail.com or check us out at recklesspod.com for more details.
This episode of RecLess wouldn't have been possible without the support of our agencies and our better halves, Melissa Salatino, Lindsay Tryon, and our executive producer, Hannah Mize. We also want to thank our director of hashtags and swag, Rooney Taylor, and our team of junior producers, Luke, James, Elizabeth, Grant, and Harper. Stay up to date on all things RecLess by following all of our social media, and like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast to ensure you don't miss an episode. See you next time on RecLess.